Welcome to The People I Know, a philosophical podcast with and about the diverse people I've met over the years as an African American female philosopher, dancer, teacher, and nature lover. Today, we are kicking off Black History Month and this new season, The Black Women I Know and the Black People I Know, with queer poet, activist, and artist Imani Williams. I hope you enjoy.
Well, thank you for having me on, Joy. I do appreciate it anytime I get to sit down and share about what we can do to better community. I am with it. I am Imani Williams, known in community as Urban Bush Sister and Turk Mama Imani. I'm a Gemini, so hence all,
Who are you
all the
today?
versatility with the names. I am a holistic entrepreneur and I offer services and products in the creative healing arts. As a life coach, that is my latest, as well as yoga certification on the 200 level. So, people that want to get into restorative yoga that need modifications, like I do because I live with chronic pain, I'm here for you. And I'm excited about both of those. Since COVID, uh, Standing on United Love Soul Project, my baby, is now officially an LLC. And so I'll be offering jewelry design, creative writing, both poetry and personal essays that for a lot of people will turn into manuscripts for memoirs. It is about reaching into and getting in touch with self. And I'm really into the trauma informed services because I don't believe that in Black communities in particular that we address the issue of mental health awareness nearly enough.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
with COVID, so many people are struggling,
Yes.
particularly a lot of young mothers, or they may not even be mothers yet, but they made a decision in January of 2020 or February of 2020 to move somebody in that they really
Mm.
didn't know all that well, and it has not proved fruitful. And so with lockdowns and you have people who are in spaces where they don't really want to be, the domestic violence rates are up, depression is up, anxiety is up, and I really want people to have the tools that they need to access just different areas that they can work on and just have them some woosah moments because the world is going to keep turning.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's next. There are people who haven't been to work and people who have been working who don't know what's going to happen in the next few months, if they're going to be forced or mandated to vaccinate, if they're healthcare or essential workers. And again, as a Black woman, I ask people to look at all of that, look at the history, do your homework, and then decide what is best for you or your family. And if you are a healthcare or essential worker, you may need to look at some other things that you can do with your knowledge and your skills and your background
Mm-hmm.
that will keep you safe if you choose to not take the vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Oof, I want to try and get into a bit more of the work that you do and why you're doing it, and what you would like to be providing, especially in our communities, in just a moment. How did how did we meet?
Um,
We are mutual
well,
friends.
mutual. We have mutual friends, and they came down from Oakland, and y'all came by where I was working, and
Yeah.
it was just good energy because I love
Yes.
them, and they're such good people. I know that anybody that's in their inner circle that they're gonna
Yeah.
come to Vegas to see is gonna be on that same with that same energy, and so
Yeah.
from day one, what's
Yeah.
up, sis?
Yeah, so I'll actually be conversing with Nikki in a few days. So
Okay, awesomeness, awesomeness.
Yeah, so if we can just get right into this. So as I said in your introduction, this is kicking off, bringing in Black History Month and this new season for me, this new chapter of this podcast of Black women I know, the Black people I know. And so the big question for this chapter is, why and when do being Black matter? Why is being Black matter?
For me, it matters all day, every day, because I feel personally connected to the ancestors.
Mm,
And having understood, even with my family lineage and background, what people went through to just get where they were trying to go and the obstacles that they faced. So I know that a lot of people um, probably may avoid some situations where they will be faced with having to like answer that question. But every day I walk out of my or I wake up um, and I enter the world. I am Black first, and I've been asked what I feel is important in terms of, or most important between being Black and a woman, and then
mm,
because I'm also queer, that's like three X's.
mm-hmm,
So instead of deciding who gets to stay out of the room when I enter a room, I take all of me in each and every time.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that's just how I roll. Because I don't want um, anybody who identifies as queer and Black to feel like they have to silence that part of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I carry my whole self into the room, and being Black
Yeah, all the gates
is
open.
very, very important to me. I wouldn't have it any other way. No
Okay.
other way.
Are there situations, because I don't want to just say like you're older than me, but you have more
I
experience than
am.
me. You have more interactions. You've had a longer time being Black than I have. And that's something that like my mom will say explicitly, like I've been Black for this many years, you know?
Right.
And so do you now or in the past, or in uh, different chapters of your own life, have you felt like being Black mattered more? Or there are situations like if you're going to a certain store, if you're living in a certain state, that it is more apparent, more, I hate to say more relevant, but it comes up more than others.
Well, growing up in Detroit, in the inner city, in the '70s, gave me so many advantages for um, understanding what community means and why it's so important. Um, when I was in elementary school, we had the Blue Pigs, and that was what they called themselves. They were a band of police officers, and they were charged with bettering community relations after stress, which was this big movement um, by the white mayor before Coleman Young became mayor. And Coleman Young was the Black mayor, known as the Black mayor of Detroit for 20 years. But when he came in, the police force was so bad, and the violence that community members faced was so strong with this stress, which gave them um, the right to just kick your door in and drag you out. And so a lot of
Mm,
my peers, even though we're in this middle class neighborhood, we still had cousins who may have not have been in this middle class neighborhood who had family members and friends who experienced this on a regular basis. Kind of like the police doing what they were doing, in LA with Black and brown bodies, just snatching brothers
mm,
up and out of their homes, and um, no explanation, no search warrant, anything like that. So with the Blue Pigs, we got to see like a different side. And I would say it wasn't until maybe junior high school or middle school, I did both,
mm,
that I began to see some of the disadvantages in terms of the ways that Black people were treated. The first time was at Cedar Point. I was about 12, gone for my cousin's birthday. Cedar Point is a really big amusement park in Sandusky, Ohio. So it was always a big deal to go. And I declined getting on the Blue Street with him, the biggest ride ever at the time. And I got all the way to the front of the line. I was like, cuz, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And so while he was riding the Blue Street, I was down on the ground playing, looking for games to play. And these white boys said, hey, Buckwheat, why don't you come on over and play? And I made a conscious decision in that moment because my cousin was turning 14 or 15, and it was his birthday trip. That if I went back to him and told him what had happened, that this was going to not end well, and his birthday would be ruined, and then the police might get involved. I understood all of this at 12, and so I think for Black people and Black kids in particular, particularly with everything that's going on right now, with police brutality and why we have to have a Black Lives Matter movement in the first place. It is imperative that we sit down and talk with our kids. And that is something that I don't believe that white parents have to do at 5, 6, 7, 8. Certainly by the time you are hitting middle school, that you understand how to handle and interact with the police in order to keep you alive. So as a Black woman, I have stood up and I continue to stand for so many sisters when I'm, say, in a gas station or, corner store, and they are disrespected by the people behind the counter who do not have brown skin. And I'm from Detroit, so I grew up with the Chaldeans owning pretty much all the gas stations and corner stores, liquor stores, in the neighborhood. So for 30 years. And we've just got to do better. As a Black woman, I have to use my voice, and I choose to use my voice to help those who have not yet developed their voice. I'm 56 now, and this has been my mission. You mentioned the age difference between us, and I just have to say that I am so blessed to, over the last 12 years, or however long I've been on Facebook, to have come across so many brilliant young people. And I mean younger than me, so in their 20s and 30s, who get it, who are willing to share that information, who understand about community. You're from Oakland, at a queer youth conference in Oakland, maybe 18 years ago. I remember spending 2 hours with young people who were participating in this conference. The director putting the conference on was from Oakland. And he said, we're not leaving this room until I feel like y'all understand what I'm saying about community. Because even this space for you to discuss this does not have to exist. There are people out there who hate you for being queer, and certainly people that hate you for having the audacity to be Black and queer and open. So, it's a repeated conversation, community and community and community. And it is so important and imperative. And these young people are working like just across the board in different fields. Many of them are creatives. Many of them are sharing and so open to sharing their gifts because of the community that they grew up in. And we've got to get back to that.
So if I can back up just for a moment, because you mentioned you have 2 masters. What are your degrees in?
Guidance and counseling, which I've had since 1990. It's not even called guidance and counseling anymore. It's marriage and family therapy. So
Okay.
it has changed. And then the second is in creative nonfiction writing, an MFA, which changed my life. Although I've been writing since elementary school. The program was based and steeped in social justice, which is what I'm about. And I really, really acquired my voice between 2008 and 2010. And then I went back and did a post MFA certification in the pedagogy of creative writing so that I'm more comfortable teaching it. And it's just life changing. And so if I can, like tap into people and help them reach down where they need to go and develop, you already have the tools if it's in there. If you have your stories, you just need the tools to bring them out. Help them with that. That is what I'm about.
And that's what I kind of want to move into next in
Mm-hmm.
sticking on this why being Black matters, because I know that quite a few people who have reached out to me who are enjoying this series, this podcast, they are white or they're not Black, not brown. And so because they're the people, they're still like people that I know, I understand that they are very open and open to
Mm-hmm.
other perspectives and experiences that they don't get or that they don't have. But there are hopefully some people who are going to be watching and listening this who are somewhere else in their lives and in their perspectives and are just like, okay, so why should I care about all these Black people now? And I feel like it'll be, because this is going to be an ongoing theme with each of these interviews this
Mm-hmm.
season, that community with Black people, with Black folks I know is really important. And so I would like if you can speak more about the work that you do, why community is important, why you see that, what community means for Black folks, and how that is maybe a little bit different for non-Black people, non-Black Americans. Yeah, and why you do the work that you do. Just speaking a little bit more
Okay.
about that.
Um,
I know it's a lot.
that's fine. Let's use yoga as an example.
Okay.
Yoga has deep spiritual roots in Africa, which does not get discussed when you go up the street to do a yoga practice, a 60-minute yoga practice, and you are, 5'11" and 120 pounds, and you have mastered these poses. These classes are not necessarily welcoming to Black women who are curvy, who may have a bust size that does not allow them. Let's just take that one for instance, where you're on your back on the floor, and um, it's supposed to be a nice, relaxing thing, but you can't relax because your boobs are smothering you. They have literally moved up and now they're over your face almost. Or you're told, well, you're not doing that pose right. Well, you can't do the pose the way that someone else may be doing it because your hips are bigger. You got butt, you got ass. And so
Like,
people
wait,
have
my back
been,
isn't arching. It's just I got
right,
booty.
right, exactly. And it is put offish for a lot of Black women who want to study yoga, but are tired of going into studios pre-COVID and being made to feel less than because of a body type. So this is one of my jewelry designs, and it says Centering Black Yoga, hashtag Standing on United Love. And again, a Standing on United Love Soul Project is my baby, where all of this programming will fall under. The programming will all come under Standing on United Love. So she is double-sided, she's wood, and every time I post these, I get responses, all positive. And in the next pair, I'm gonna get a sister that's a little thicker, because I really want people to know that there will be no body shaming with my yoga practice. If you come to me to do yoga with me, we're gonna help you feel better, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Um, so the yoga is one big example of why Black Lives Matter and why you would even need to say centering Black yoga. Basically, and I'm sure this will be challenged by some folk, but I do my homework with everything that I do. And while I was doing my certification training, um, I questioned a lot that did not include what I know should be there. So I'll add it. Again, now, so yoga is a $2 billion business by the time you add in all the products and services and the apparel and the gear. And if we're going to be in it, we need to be in it to win it. So that means understanding the spiritual history, the philosophy, the background, and understanding how that works into our, our current situations. Um, I'm going to use yoga with my grandchildren even. My 4-year-old he just turned 4 last week, and he's somewhere on the spectrum. So I need the tools so that I can help him. And because I know when he's trying, he's just up and down and up and down and up and down. It's things that he needs. It's
Yeah.
not always sit down when a child is autistic. Is how about we go outside, which you can't really do right now. He's in the Midwest. Um, but I can get him that trampoline that's $30 on Amazon, and he put it in his room, and he can jump up and down till he just falls out tired.
Yeah.
Let's find different tools. The breathing exercises, getting him to calm down. And then also for the older grandchildren, who are moving into that awkward tween stage. And then there's one going through the terrible twos right now, and oh boy, he's just different altogether. He's a Sagittarius, so he is demanding, and a sponge. And I did some yoga with him, a real little mini, just a little maybe 5 minutes. And he was like, rock, yeah, rock. And I was like, move your hips to the left, to the right, and rock. And he was rocking out. So I'm going to have fun with this. And there's so many different angles and ways to embrace yoga. And it will be a lifetime practice for me. Being quiet, we need to do that more. Just get quiet and listen to our thoughts. We just don't make time for it. Like every minute of every day has to be filled with something, a CD, or most of the time, honestly, it's the phone, and we're on social media. And we checking accounts like we getting paid for that. Balance, the balance thing, is something that I continue to work on, and that I encourage others to work on as well.
When you start off saying that being Black is it's obviously a part of you. It's something that you're just, it's there. And part of that, a piece of that, is the ancestral connection. And what that makes me think of is, in this last week, I've been realizing, winter is very hard for me. I'm not alone with that. And so a lot of disconnect happens. And so in this last week, I've been reconnecting with things that I enjoy, reading some chapters in some books that I know I need to be reading, listening more to, a couple of like mindfulness podcasts and things like that. And suddenly I've had some information, come to me, because that ancestral, that connection, that spiritual connection, is something that I've never been able to deny in my life. Even though I personally wasn't raised religious, it's something that I've just always known something else is there. Someone, whatever it is there for me. And so I definitely, what I'm hearing you say is that, like, especially the Black people that I know, people that I've been around, who maybe are distracting themselves, maybe aren't connected, maybe aren't balanced, aren't doing the things, checking in with that silence within them. It ends up being a barrier to that connection, whether we call it an ancestral or spiritual connection. And I've certainly felt that, yoga is one way to get in touch with that. If you're not cool with just sitting and being quiet and like meditating in that way, fine, move a little bit. That, that active meditation, that's a thing.
Yes.
And we're still able to hear whatever, whether it's with your ears or whatever you want to call that, to hear that information, that knowledge be given to us, or just tapping into, these things that we already know, we already have within us. So I think I agree. This is really important work, and someone might argue like, everybody needs to be doing this, but at least we see our people, and we see where we need this work, and what boundaries we've had to deal with that's preventing us from being in touch with these things.
Yes. Yes. Got to do the work. And it can be scary, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, yoga was the first time that I like really took a look at work, took a good look at shadow work, and I'm going to bring that into it as well. Um, so the different courses, different levels, because people are different places.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the holistic deals, I'm looking at this from the life coaching from a wellness standpoint. Want to help people um, with wellness, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, um,
Okay.
which is, what I got into 30 something years ago, but the traditional methods of doing things and being bound to an office. I'm not, no, 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 no. When COVID is over, we're gonna, clients and I will be outside doing some things, or they'll be outside and I'll be guiding them doing some things. We're gonna, get our hands in some dirt and feel the earth and, you know, go sit by some water. Where here, I don't know yet, but that may happen when I go, in spring, summer when I'm in Detroit. But we shall see. Another thing that I'm like really stoked about is that I just got my certification as a wedding officiant. And so for folks that don't know where to find if they're looking for, they're queer and they want a queer wedding officiant who is soulful, I am she. If they are
Lovely.
420 friendly, I'll be doing cannabis weddings. My thing is
Nice.
just be in love and have it be real deal, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I promote happy. I promote, just soulful, good feelings and energy.
I
So I'm
love it.
like really excited about that too. Imani ain't for everybody,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
but I am for those who are willing to do the work, are ready to do the work. Um, I offer services to everyone, predominantly women though. But I do see this opening up for men as well, particularly with the meditation and the yoga, because we got to be able to like de-stress out here like quickly. Because it's life and death, and it is just that serious.
Hmm.
um but I have white friends and Latina friends, and long as the energy is good and we vibing, you know but
And that's
again, that's really important when you're doing root work,
right.
that you vibe with those that you are working with, so that you can get to your highest level.
Yeah.
You know
And that's what I was actually going to move into, just
yes,
the
ma'am.
last bit about being Black,
Hmm.
like when it doesn't matter. And that's something that I think is probably again going to be a common theme. It's like as long as we vibe, we're good.
Right, right,
So anybody
right.
who's not Black watching or listening, like as long as you're aware that this stuff is going on, as long as you're aware that your Black and brown peers have their own work to do on this level, and you just being a human have your work to do, we're good.
Right,
But if you're
right.
in denial of any of this stuff, we're probably
That
not
that's it. That's key. That is so key.
okay. Yeah, yeah. So you
So
are open to working with anybody.
I want to share this real short little thing. When I was
Yeah.
12, my parents were going through a divorce, and they dropped me off for 2 week sleepover camp at Camp Wathena, Campfire Girl Camp. I was the only Black girl in my cabin. Again, I'm Detroit born and raised, so I was not used to being around white people. I was the only Black girl in my cabin. My mother, I had braids because I knew I was going to be swimming, and she packed me some peach hair food. Those white girls rolled. I said, "Oh, she gotta feed her hair," and they giggled and laughed and taunted. But there was one girl who didn't, and she and I hooked. Just she became my friend in that cabin. My canteen got lost. I was like, I know one of them. Okay. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
um, I remembered her last name because we became pen pals. We only wrote each other a couple of times, but I remembered her last name. I looked her up on Facebook maybe a couple of months ago before the holiday, and I sent her an inbox. I sent her a DM, and I just told her I wanted to thank her for just being a kind person because that was a traumatic experience for me.
Mhm,
And I don't know why I got picked up late. I don't know. My dad was probably late getting to my mother's house, which put
mhm.
them on the road late. I was like, oh my God, they're going to leave me up here in this little white village. Is it for me?
Yeah, yeah.
So I hope Lori reaches back out to me and at some point. She would
Yeah.
not know, and she would not know me because my name was not Imani then. It was the
Mhm,
full C with some other stuff behind it.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
but she opens it and reads it. I hope that makes her day. But I just wanted to
Ah,
let her know that she had touched my heart, and I never forgotten that.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I have my own personal experiences of bad memories when I was a kid, of like people calling, like when I was in Brownie and Girl Scouts, and somebody mentioning that I was the black girl. Oh, something bad happened, and it must have been my fault because I was the black girl, the only black girl, and that sticks with people. Not so. I mean, some people it does stick with because like, oh, it ruins kind of the rest of their life, but also just like, well, if somebody was kind, it was a reminder, or that was the one time in our life, or one of the few times in our lives when somebody showed their humanity in a good way, and like, okay,
Right.
everybody isn't bad, not everybody does these horrible things. And then also, for people maybe who see these stories, or who see especially these videos of like the black kid and the white kid who they're hugging it out and they didn't get to see each other for a long time. It's like, yeah, that's that moment in our life where we had
Mm-hmm.
that positive, that's the memory, that's that
Right.
reinforcement of the good people in our lives, that
And
we'd rather
we need
remember.
that. We need that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have another super, super, super positive experience until I was an adult and I started writing for Between the Lines, which is Michigan's LGBTQ weekly. And
Mm,
I wrote for them for about 9 years. But um, the folks that run that, I shout out Susan and Jan Steele, 10, 12 years later, because um, they got it.
mm,
They get it. They got it. They know when to
mm-hmm,
step back and let a black
mm.
issue be a black issue, which is so important. Because I
Know
wasn't
when to
against
step back and let a black issue be a
workspaces.
black issue.
Exactly. It is that is key. And then it wasn't until I got to Antioch in 2008, December of 2008, um, that program and the people in it, where I met writers from around the country, um, who are doing the work: white,
Mm-hmm.
black, Latina, Native, Asian. I love them. I love them. We bonded for life, right? And I needed that then because
Yeah.
I was starting to get really funky about nonprofits, about um, politics in the city, politics in my state, politics in the country, politics affecting me directly, black respectability politics that just needed to die, you know. Um, and so I needed that because I was becoming hard in ways that I did not want to,
Mm.
you know. And so um, can't believe, I've been done with school since 2011 and we're now 2021. So that's a minute. And during that time, I have really been on a solo journey. I have
Mm.
not dated in that time. I have spent a lot of time depressed in those earlier years that I had to work through. And finally, within the last 2 years, because I've been in Vegas for four, maybe in the last 2 years, things have gotten better for me on an emotional level, a psychological level. Um, in March 4th, I celebrate 17 years alcohol free. That is like huge to me. Um, And I'm just thankful for every blessing um, that has come my way. And I know for me, sitting with myself and sitting on it has made such a difference. And I
Mm-hmm.
really, really feel empowered at this point um, to just open my services up and help specific people that I vibe with that feel like they can get something from me that will help them move forward and progress and fly. Because I know what it feels like, what depression feels like, that just shuts you down.
Mm.
And no news is good news, and that's not a good way to live.
Yeah.
There's a whole world out here. So I'm, going to get it together physically and get this COVID weight dropped. Oh my God, can't believe how many times I go to the refrigerator. Stop, you know, um, but really get that under control, um, and just spread love. That is all. That is who I want to be known as and for.
I
Soul
think this
Project.
moves us forward into the philosophical stuff, the critical thinking. I was asking, how is philosophy relevant in your life, personally and professionally? How is critical thinking relevant? You can take one or the other, or both of them. Um, yeah, I think you've spoken to this, but I just wanted to ask,
Okay,
explicitly.
I'll take critical thinking. Um, it is We have to teach our kids critical thinking. It is a disservice to let somebody get to the age of 18 or 19 and they don't have critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the public education system is set up, we are um, more likely to be asked to regurgitate information or give yes, no answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we are aware that that's what we're doing. People even do it, at home with their kids. How was your
Mm-hmm.
day? You have a good day? Yes, no. Well, what made it
Mm-hmm.
a good day? What'd you learn? What'd you
Mm-hmm.
talk about? What made it
Mm-hmm.
good? And I think the earlier we start with that, because I do it even with the 2 and 4-year-olds, I do it with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're gonna use sentences. We're gonna use words, you know, and
Express
we're
our
gonna
thoughts
have
a
a
little bit more.
conversation. They're
Mm-hmm.
sponges, and so critical thinking can make the difference between saving your life and having somebody kill you. Just in
Mm.
a, it's dark, you outside, I'm not gonna argue with you, and it's night, and I need to get in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it happens all the time. You got these TikTok folks, and I love TikTok, but I think some of the challenges are really dangerous. I'm in Walmart and you run your cart into me and you hit my baby toe or my ankle. That's a lot. That's a
People
lot.
that
They're running their carts like into people's carts, but
Oh
the
my
cart
goodness
can move,
gracious. Right.
and it's to
Right.
get a reaction.
Uh-huh.
And so, I'm just using this situation as an example.
Yeah.
Probably it's probably not a good any day that would be a good day for somebody to do that with me. But
Right.
if I'm not having a good day and you do that, and I don't employ critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna hit you.
Right. Right.
I mean, just
Yeah, I mean
just
that's a
instantly,
response to
you know. When I again, like,
to
12 was
violence.
really critical for me. When I was 12, I was washing the dishes and I thought I had cleaned up the kitchen to my satisfaction. And my mother came in and she's like, I asked you to clean the kitchen. That means wiping down the counters, going behind the faucets, clean my kitchen. And I said, I did. And she picked, I said it, my tone was wrong. And she took that dishcloth and she popped me in the back of the neck with it.
Mm.
And I turned around and I swear to God, it was just a instinct. My leg went up and I saw my leg go up and I saw her coming for me. And I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to kick you. She said, bad move. Sagittarius. She's Sagittarius. Bad move. You know, I didn't have time for critical thinking when that hit my neck.
Mm-hmm.
So, my first thing was rolling my eyes or mumbling up under my breath in the first place. With an old school mama, she did not play. So, critical thinking can save our lives, or it can cause something to turn bad very, very fast.
Yeah, and I think that the TikTok situation and something kind of outside of in a less conventional environment, those are two very real things. Because one, you don't know what kind of, you don't know who you're dealing with, and you don't know what kind of day the person you're dealing with is having. And so to just try and do something because it's popular on the internet, you want to try and get some likes, you want to try and get some imaginary friends, like that's not very good. That doesn't demonstrate good reasoning, and critical thinking can get us out of doing things based on not very good reasoning.
Exactly.
And then also in a bigger arena, if you're out in the world and you just think that it's fun to throw somebody, to hit somebody in an alley that you really, really don't know. You're not even in like the shelter of a store, and you're really just out in some alley on some street. Like that's just dumb. And so, it's one thing to get popped by your blood relative who probably is like going to stop at some point because laws, but some stranger out on the street has no incentive to not kill you. And for whatever reason, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people today don't have those thinking skills to get them to that understanding. And yeah, another friend that I was speaking with, she says it's very scary that those thinking skills aren't valued today, because people are getting killed just based on not thinking, not reasoning better. My goodness. It just, people are hitting people with shopping carts, Imani.
Yes. And you don't know where someone else is. And when I was writing for Harriet, the Black woman's publication, I did a couple of articles on clapbacks, because when I was in California, I was walking down the street and I had been accosted by a Filipino woman who, this everybody here will be watching will be grown probably. She told me to take my nigga ass back to Africa, and I had to make a snap decision. First the Detroit was about to come out. I had to think about it, take a step back for a minute, let me take a look at her. Well, then I was able to determine that she has some mental health issues going on, and to think about, well, what would happen if I beat her ass out here on this street and the police come? Now I beat up a mentally challenged woman. And so we have to decide in a moment when to clap back, how much to clap back. And usually, with people that understand a look, that side eye, that, what, you better, that mama look, that we're all capable of handing out, is enough to let people know, I don't play, don't do that. But that was a very scary little thing that happened. That was like 2015, I did tell her to go to hell or something, but I was physical with her. I couldn't just act like I didn't hear that foulness.
And so something else I wanted to ask you about when we were talking about critical thinking is, because you brought it up a couple times, is respectability politics, specifically Black respectability politics. So I've been a little bit familiar with this just in my own family. And for me, what that means is if there's an elder, anybody older than me, anybody who's raised somebody, any of the parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, they get respect, period, point blank. I don't talk back to them. I don't question. If they give me a direction, I don't question it. It's not to be questioned. And that's when it's meant the most for me. And that is kind of extended to authority figures, and that's really when it's just meant the most in my life, because coming from a military family, it's like, that's who I end up encountering. But I know in other Black circles, it means there's some more layers to it.
Oh yeah, the
So
layers.
if you can speak just a little bit more, defining it and how it's relevant in your life, and then how critical thinking can support why it's something that we don't have to have as just a black and white, figuratively black and white. Like, no, we need to get away from this.
Mm-hmm. For me, Black respectability politics is troublesome because it does not allow people to be who they are and to grow. It's kind of a clique, bully, thug, in out group mentality.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, but I understand historically why things were. For me, I look at it as being kind of like self hatred. When you are aspiring um, to be people who aren't you.
Mm-hmm.
So, from slavery, you had to do certain things a certain way in order to be looked at as a good Black person. No, they still didn't look at you as a good Black person. They still looked at you as the N-word, you know, or as I've been called, a nigga bitch. I had to write a poem about that. So girls are raised a certain way. They're raised with Black respectability politics to kind of defer to men, whether that's fathers, brothers, male cousins, uncles, which opens the door when there are pedophiles involved for childhood sexual abuse to take place. I'm a survivor of CSA. My perpetrator was my paternal grandfather. He did not one day of jail time. A police report was not filed. But when I told, and I was 5 or 6, my dad did fly down to Tennessee the next morning. And when he came back, I was just told I would never have to be with his father again. But then my parents, following Black respectability politics a little bit more, insisted I go to this man's funeral. That was a huge trigger for me. I felt even at 12 that should have been my choice. Had to write a short story about that, published with Negrasafa Press, a Gypsy's library. It's called Tween Let, because that is when my self-esteem began to plummet. I couldn't understand why we were honoring this pedophile and acting like I was the oldest grandchild, but I certainly didn't feel grand at all. So that then led me to look at my family dynamics. My dad lived with bipolar disorder back when it was called manic depressive in the 70s. Brilliant man, loved him, carry him in my heart every day. But I know that he was misunderstood as a Black man living in America, born in the South. And I don't believe he had his first break until he was maybe about 26 or 27. So he'd already come north to Detroit. But I wanted to understand the family dynamics more. I wanted to understand what made my daddy either be up here or down here when he was sick. I wanted to understand. So hence the master's in guidance and counseling. Mental illness is on both sides of my family. I grew up with my mother's sister who, she and my dad, though they were sister and brother-in-law, got along fabulously. They would just sit and just have quiet conversations. And I knew it even as a kid. I'm looking at the two people who get whispered about in the family on both sides, and how loving they are, and how sweet and how kind they are, and how fucked up this world is. I was saying that at 12. What can I do to better understand myself, my family? And I didn't know I was talking about community at the time, but my community, because on my block, there was some stuff going on in every household. Whether somebody was an alcoholic or somebody was involved in a domestic violence situation, or in my case where, my parents would be arguing so loud, I'd be like, look, there's some irreconcilable differences here. I understood what that word meant when the movie came out. And I said, I think we need a divorce.
Yeah. So look, I said the same thing to my parents.
Like, this is not working.
Right.
Everybody just take a deep breath. Let's do an assessment. Because y'all stressing me the hell out. I shouldn't hear y'all when I'm coming down the street. It's
Right.
embarrassing.
Right.
So,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and I will say that, when my dad moved, when he did finally move out, he was never more than 10 minutes away. And so having the love of a good Black man as a father
Hmm.
um, meant everything to me. It maybe softened some of the other blows because my mother was such a strong person,
Hmm.
brilliant mathematician, taught it for 52 years. And my dad paid her the highest compliment after the divorce. He said, your mom could have been a nuclear physicist or an astronaut. She chose to teach middle school math and raise her girls in community because she was also a cheerleading coach and a softball coach. I'm just so blessed to be a 70s kid and be a
Yeah.
Black 70s kid. The music, the booze,
That's
the
why I love you so much.
reading, parents who are both educators and daddy taught special education. Um, Parents who are educated who chose to be involved. And so when I see kids that don't get it, or I even have friends that had different dad situations, I have empathy for that.
Mhm.
Um, because although mine was not perfect, man, and my girls got a chance to experience my dad until they were 16 and 18. And they just like, they say it today. We had the best grandparents like
Mm,
ever, you
mm,
know?
yeah.
So
I think you definitely explained it, and I just want to kind of repeat what you were saying with how personally and within Black communities, how critical thinking can help us out, not just with when we're in stores and not harassing people, but also with this respectability politics. If Because we're in this space right now where people are very interested in calling out this and clapping back and just putting
mhm,
putting hard stops in some places where there just needs to be a question or a conversation, and then not doing anything in other situations where yes, the pedophile in the family needs to be uh uh taken out, not
mhm. Well,
needs to be
I know why
dealt
the
with.
cage bird sings, but
Right.
okay,
Right.
do what you got.
Right.
You protect the babies at all costs.
Right.
So,
And so, since in critical thinking critically can really help us out with that, both on the side of feeling strong enough to point out those people in our families who are doing whatever it is that needs to not be done, and then also within ourselves to figure out that things are happening that shouldn't be happening, in
mhm,
finding our voices, and in recognizing how to strengthen our families, or what
yes,
is lacking in our family, just being able to recognize, no, I shouldn't be hearing these people argue, or my father is having good days and he's having bad days, and this something is going on. That is,
mhm,
not just taking things as like, oh, today's Tuesday, that's just what's happening Tuesday. Taking a
mhm,
step back and kind of getting a bigger picture, seeing different layers. That
mhm,
is what I'm hearing you say is a really significant way where thinking
mhm,
critically can help us out.
absolutely. I mean, and you asked about Black respectability politics. I was my senior year of college when I went home for winter break. I had a pregnancy test, and my ex-husband, he was my boyfriend at the time. He and I, we went to our parents together, and my mother wanted to know when the wedding was. That's all she wanted to know. So that was in March. I graduated with my bachelor's in April. I had a baby shower a wedding shower, excuse me, at the beginning of May. Got married Memorial Day weekend. She planned a whole wedding while I was taking 16 credits and working part time. But okay.
Okay.
But this is gonna make you feel better. But then
Yeah.
she asked me to not wear any maternity clothes to the bridal shower. I was getting, starting to get
Yeah.
tight, right? And I said, Mommy, make this make sense to me. Anybody
Uh,
that comes to the wedding that you've invited is supposed to care about us, love us, right?
mm-hmm,
Because they're getting a wedding invitation.
mm-hmm.
You teach math. They're not retarded. The baby is coming. In a couple months, they're gonna be able to, I
Yeah,
said, what?
yeah.
So I had a real live shotgun wedding in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
That's black respectability politics. And I didn't care for it then. I didn't care for it now. I didn't make
Mm-hmm.
a full decision for myself on my own until I came out and would
Mm.
not back down. So,
And that brings us to my final
mhm.
formal question on existential dilemmas. So you made a full decision, informed decision for yourself that
Yes.
changed your life. That was deciding, directing your life. At how old?
The coming out,
Uh-huh.
late. It was late for me. I was in my 30s,
Mm.
like 36, 37, I think.
Mm.
Um, our kids need to know that we are pulling for them,
Mm.
that we are getting the resources that, we are scouring for resources. If you're going to be on social media, damn it, beat that drum for the community village. Beat that drum for good. Share some resources, give some resources, connect some people. So I'm so thankful to Jay and Nikki for connecting us. I really, really am. Um, and I just want to make a difference out here,
Yeah.
and get up every day and live my life with purpose. And even though I don't know what my finances are going to be right now from day to day, having started this business, I know that I'm blessed. I know that it'll work out, and I'm claiming that it will be better than it was with me going into somebody's office and giving them all of my intellectual property. I'm a beast. I am, because this is 56 years of I done mussed up some stuff.
Yeah.
And so I know what not to do.
Yeah.
So it's not that I know everything, it's that I know what not to do. And I know how to use critical thinking to look at situations and come up with some suggestions and some options and not just sit here stuck.
Mm.
Time. So I just want to share my gifts. That is it.
Oh,
Yes.
I love it. Love it. I hope people are hearing this. Hope people are feeling this.
It's passion. It's real deal. Because I know what depression feels like. I know what it feels like when I can't move. When it's hard to even think about a next step. And unfortunately, with everything that's going on right now, we have to think about next steps. We have to think about next steps.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. I could just do black respectability politics all day. With the loss of my mother, with the loss of my father, I remember, and it just kind of hit me like the wrong way. A cousin, my dad's first cousin, walked up to me at his repast, and she said, "Did a nice, really, really nice job." That's what her mouth was saying, but her eyes were saying, "I didn't think you were gonna pull that off." That's what
Oh,
I felt her saying. You know, and
like,
yeah, yeah.
okay. Okay.
And then at my mom's repast, it got back to me. My sister waited. My sister waited about 6 months to share with me what had gone on at the table that she had sat at. And this is not a blood sister. This is someone that I've been dear friends with for 30 something years. So, her word is bond. But she shared with me some of the chatter that the women at her table were having. And it was so disrespectful to me, my kids, my mother, my grandkids, just disrespectful.
Mm.
And these were Black women in their 60s, 70s.
Mm.
And it hurt me to my core, and I'm glad I didn't find out until afterwards, because
Mm-hmm.
it did not need to happen on that day that I learned what had gone on. But I just think that we can all do better. I think it's nothing worse than a petty elder. So I am not able to give respect where I don't get it. I was raised to, like with my dad's friends, they would be like, "Girl, you grown. You can call me Mike." And Daddy was like, "She will not. She will address you as Mister." I was like, "Okay." I had kids of my own, but my dad was from the South, so
Yeah.
I get that. But when my mother left this plane and I became an orphan, I said, all of that goes out of the window. You get respect when you give it from me, because I'm a human being too, and that is what I teach my babies, because adults are wrong sometimes.
Right.
I will never tell them that just because an adult said it, the adult is right. Absolutely not. Never, never. And as my dad would tell me, you can question things and you can say what's on your mind, but there's a time and a place and a way. So, time and place and way has been my mantra, my three-pronged mantra of my entire life, because I
Time
spent
and
a lot
place
of
away.
time on the honor roll, but with poor citizenship, because you're going to hear what I had to say. So, I had to.
Yes.
But, to the journey. And
Yeah.
two really small pieces, poems that I think tie in everything that we've said. Root work haiku. Root worker said, "Deep, find truth by digging deeper, validate for self." That's everything right there. Do your own work, everybody. You owe it to yourselves, you owe it to your families, your communities, and the ancestors. That's everybody. Do your
Yeah.
work. Evolving higher. It's imperative that I stay ready. Pen to pad, I plot the deliberate act of saving self. Intentional, radical, mystical, beautiful. I am, and so are you. Gotta take it higher. Gotta take it higher. Raise the vibration. Raise the
Thank you.
vibration. Yeah.
Thank you, Imani. Is there anything else you would like to share with the world that we haven't covered? I mean, we could go on for
We
the rest of
could,
the
but
day.
let you get to your Monday. People can find me on social media,
Yes.
on Facebook. I invite you to like the page Standing on United Love and join the group Standing on United Love Soul Project.
Okay. And I'll
On
be sure to put the links to those under
Thank
the
you.
YouTube.
Okay, and then on Instagram, Imani is Love. That's IMANIIZLOVE. And I have programming workshops coming up for Black History Month, Her History Month, and for Women's History Month in March.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Gosh, I needed this on a Monday morning.
Always extra, always extra.